meine Lieben, hier ist Simeon, herzlich willkommen zu einem neuen Highlight auf diesem YouTube-Channel. Wir haben heute ein Interview mit einem ganz besonderen Menschen. Der Mann ist eine Legende. Der ist garantiert der Lieblingszauberkünstler, euer Lieblingszauberkünstler. Und der ist mein persönlicher Held. Wir haben heute die Ehre, von dem großartigen David Williamson zu lernen. Wenn ihr meinen Channel verfolgt, dann wisst ihr, wie sehr ich David bewundere. Ich rede sehr viel über ihn hier und ich habe sogar ein ganzes Video über seine großartigen Veröffentlichungen gemacht und ihr findet dieses Video in der Infobox. Ich habe das schon mal gesagt. Ich glaube ganz fest daran, dass David Williamson für unsere Generation das sein wird, was Vernon für seine Generation war. Der Mann ist einfach nur ein Genie, was die Zauberei angeht, und wenn er redet, dann sollten wir ihm ganz genau zuhören, und deswegen bin ich überglücklich, unbeschreiblich glücklich, dass er jetzt auf meinem Channel auch redet und tolle Tipps gibt, tolle Ratschläge. David hat das letzte Jahr damit verbracht, Zauberkünstler aus der ganzen Welt zu coachen, Profis und Anfänger, und ich habe ihm Fragen darüber gestellt, wie es war, was er dabei erlebt hat, was die häufigsten Ratschläge waren, die er gegeben hat, und ganz allgemein habe ich mit ihm darüber gesprochen, wie man Zauberkunst unterhaltsam machen kann, wie man aus einem einfachen Kartentrick ein besonderes magisches Erlebnis macht. Hört bitte David ganz genau zu. Alle seine Antworten sind super spannend, super tiefsinnig und total durchdrungen von seiner Liebe und von seiner Leidenschaft zur Zauberkunst. Ich habe es schon mal gesagt, ich bin einfach nur so happy, dass dieses Video jetzt auf meinem Channel ist. Das bedeutet mir unendlich viel und ich hoffe sehr, dass dieses Video euch auch gefallen wird. Ich wünsche euch ganz viel Spaß mit David Williamson.
You know, I didn't really know what to expect. The reason I started doing the lessons was because my friend Bill Kalush, he has an online university he's been hosting for several years, and he's been trying to get me to be one of the instructors for many years. And I always said no because I was on tour a lot, but also because I didn't think I'd be a very good teacher of magic. I'm a consumer of magic. I love magic. I'm a practitioner. But I think it takes a special kind of person to be a teacher, and I didn't necessarily think I'm that guy, because my attitude towards giving lessons was always read this book and call me in 20 years. And that was my attitude. But I agreed to do it this year because of COVID. I was stuck here at home, and he knew I wasn't going anywhere, so he insisted. And I did it. And I absolutely loved it. I had a class with a dozen people, and I was looking forward to every week to doing some research for them and coming up with ideas for them and hashing out some of the questions that came along. And I found myself really engaged in magic again. Rather than it just being my job and vocation, it became kind of an exciting hobby again through giving classes. So that was what the experience was like. And then it was just meeting new people from all over the world. It was just making friends and meeting people with various interests in magic. And the idea was that I met them where they were. If they were beginners, we would just talk at that level. If they were experienced, and there were some who were very experienced, so we talked on a little higher level there and discussed presentations and slides and so forth. But I found all of it interesting to me. I didn't always feel like I gave great advice. I tried to. I hope that I did. But, it's like any other thing in life. There's varying degrees of success. So, well, we had some breakthroughs. We had some aha moments. And those, I think, in any creative endeavor like magic, it's those wonderful moments where you go, I have an idea. What if you did it like this? Or what if you did, it blends perfectly with this? Or what if you use this presentation line? And that's what I did several times throughout the class. It was a collaborative effort. And that's the exciting part, when you're collaborating with somebody else. Everybody needs that second set of eyes. And that it's not that it's my experience or skill that helps them. It's just the fact that I'm another person paying attention to what they're doing and saying, probably for the first time. It's one thing to have your magic buddies say, oh yeah, that was cool, you do that really well, and give you strokes and so forth. But it's another thing for somebody you've paid to give you actual advice. That didn't look very good. Let's just start from scratch. I don't like that. Let's start over. Why did you say it that way? Let's maybe think of a different way to handle that, And it's the first time for a lot of these guys that somebody has come into their life and was honest, constructive and critical. And I don't get that very often. When I was working in production shows like The Illusionist or Circus 1903, we had a director who just didn't hesitate saying, nope, that was horrible. Do it again. Let's try it like this. And I think all of us need that. The most frequent advice I gave, it was probably along the lines, it was in the presentation realm, and it was, let's shoot for more clarity of effect, and let's shoot for more clarity in the story. That was kind of the advice. The advice I gave was pick a theme or pick a premise and stick to it and support it all through the routine. I was general, but I feel like we did a lot of talking about presentations and themes and supporting the theme. That speaks to the previous question. I think it is important to have an emotional hook because that was the advice that Goshman gave to me when I was a kid. Albert Goshman, great sleight of hand magician, had a wonderful close-up act, and I loved him. And I showed him a trick when I was a teenager, and he said, "What's the hook?" And I go, "Huh?" And he said, "What's the emotional hook?" And I didn't know what he meant. And I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "Why should people care about what you're doing? Why should they care? What does it have to do with them? What's the emotional hook? How do you hook them in on an emotional level? And not just as a puzzle or eye candy. How do you make them care, them personally, today in that room?" I wasn't old enough to really understand the question, but it stuck with me. It bothered me. It was a little digging in back in my brain for many years. And it was only until later in life when I was, performing professionally a lot, I started to understand and see the impact of having a script, a story, an emotional hook that resonated with people, that was authentic, that was in the moment, that people could latch on to and connect. Because in the end, what is magic? It's another way to connect with other human beings, especially close-up magic, I think is rare. In a rare form of performing arts, that we are intimate. We make an intimate connection. We use people's names. We touch. We handle props with them. We get in close in a close group, and that's a special kind of performance and very unique to what we do. Well, as we just said, you find a way to make it about them and not about you. There's so many dynamics when you're doing magic. For example, the torn and restored card trick that I've been doing for 40 years. Somebody picks a card, goes back in the deck, you find the wrong card, you tear it up, you eventually take out their correct card, and it changed places with the torn card, and then you restore the card. There's a lot that goes on there. But the real dynamic about what that trick became, it was all about me making that mistake. That's what the trick was about. The trick was about the mistake, not the restoration or the change, but it was about dealing with the mistake, correcting the mistake. At first, when I started doing it, I just would brush by that part. I would tear up a card, and I didn't really have a compelling reason. I didn't make it feel realistic or authentic that I would tear a card in that situation. But over time, I realized, no, if I really act like I want them to find the card, or I want to find the card, and they shuffle the deck too much, it's like, how am I going to find it now? I've spoken a lot about this in the past, but my theory of card tricks, if you tell somebody, take any card, shuffle them as much as you like, put it back in the deck anywhere you wish, shuffle them up some more, would you be amazed if I could find your card? And they're going to go, no, I'll be amazed if you don't find it. You're so cocky, so confident there. You're obviously going to find it. I think that's the way most card tricks are presented. And they know we're magicians. They know we're going to find the card. So when you say, wouldn't it be amazing if this were your card? They're thinking in their mind, not really. That's what you do for a living. I'll be amazed if it's not my card. So we have to make it more believable that we couldn't find the card. And that's why when I say shuffle the deck, I say, that's enough. And they go, no, you said I could shuffle. And I act the part. Oh boy, this isn't going to work out so good. And they start laughing. And that's what it becomes about. It becomes about a good-natured magician versus spectator. right? Because they're used to being dumped on by the magician. The magician's always smarter. The status is always higher with the magician. But if you can bring your status below them, and now they've got you over a barrel, now you have something interesting. You have an emotional hook. Aha, I've got one up on the magician. Take any card in this general area here. No, I want this one. Oh, great. Put it back some. Wait, did you already put it back? Yes. Oh, boy. And now they're involved. They're gleeful. They made something happen. They've ruined the trick, which, makes a lot of people happy. Or I want to see how you get out of this one now, Mr. Magic. I was like, well, is that your card? No. And they go, yeah, well, you took the wrong card. And so it's all acting and it's fun. It's in the moment. Does that answer the question? I don't know. I'm not good at answering. That's why I don't think I'd be a good teacher. When a wise person asks a question, and I consider you a wise person, when a wise person asks a question, the answer is usually half the answer is in the question, and you've kind of answered the question yourself. That's how you have an engaging character in front of an audience, to be authentic. I mean, you've just answered your own question, I believe. Somebody asked me, how do you choose your character? And I was like, you don't really, I don't think you choose a character the way you would choose a suit in a clothing store. I think it chooses you. My advice is to be the best and most appealing version of you can be. Be the most appealing, whether it's the funniest or the most interesting or the most dramatic, whatever it is, whatever you think would be the most interesting version of you in that room, in that moment. Be that, and that becomes your character. Over time, you learn how to hone that and play upon it and build on your strengths. But to play a character that has nothing to do with you would be inauthentic, and I think people smell it really quick. Well, that is a good question. And again, I don't have an answer to that. How do you achieve the balance? Is there a balance? Should there be a balance? You need to make a choice. I mean, that's a good question. Do I want to have a balance? Or do I want it to be really, really funny? Or do I want just to be really, really mysterious with a little humor? Or I guess it depends on the individual, what you're looking for in a performance, what kind of reactions you're looking for from the audience. I've said before that, let's say you put it on a graph, a chart, and then the comedy is over here, and then mystery is over here, and then somewhere in the middle is the balance, the midpoint. But I think the people who tend towards the mystery, the people who go home from that performance will feel like they've got their money's worth. It wasn't laugh out loud funny, but it was wonderful because mystery and magic is a form of entertainment in itself. People love it. And then the different performer who was funnier, the mysteries weren't as hard hitting. The people weren't scratching their head as much, but it was a completely enjoyable evening. The people walking home from that experience will also feel like they've got their money's worth. So I don't think it's an either or. I think it depends on you, what your intention is. I remember a chart. Tamariz gave a lecture years ago in London, and I didn't really understand what he was talking about. I'm not that smart, as you can tell. He was talking about how humor should push the magic effect up. So they're both going up. The humor supports the magic. I guess you could make a chart saying the other way around, too. But he was doing this. Every time he made an assertion or made a point, he would stop and he'd point at me and he goes, except for Williamson. And then he'd go back and make another rule and he goes, except for Williamson. And I was like sitting there going, is he insulting me or complimenting me? I didn't know. I still don't know to this day. So I'm perplexed by that question as well. I think it's something to think about. But I think if you do too much navel gazing, which is my way of saying overthinking some of these philosophical questions. You sometimes miss the forest because of all the trees in the way. You miss the whole point. It's go out there. If you're having a great time and the audience is having a great time, that's a plus. That's what you want. More of that, right? And over time, I think experience really, I hate to say it, experience is the best teacher, and experience will answer a lot of these questions that I'm fluffing here. Sure. Yeah. Absolutely. As I've gotten older in this business and gotten more comfortable in my own skin, I've been able to allow, I was always going after the laugh for the first part of my career, always going after the laugh. But I think there's absolutely room for poignancy, and shared truth moments and nuggets of wisdom and maybe a little sentimentality. There's room for all of that, just like in any theatrical production or any theatrical art. Feelings of transcendence and wonder, if you can instill that. Isn't that a wonderful thing to give people? Yeah, I don't think it always should be for laughs. I think a lot of laughter in magic is, some of the best laughs are situational. It's not that it was a funny joke or a funny line. It was just like, it was a wonderful artistic achievement, an ironic moment, or a wonderful twist of a story, laughter of surprise and joy, rather than just laughing at a mean or dirty joke or something like that. So absolutely, that's a good question, and something that you should think about, yeah. More of the same? I don't know. I'm really encouraged by what I'm seeing, especially in the young people, because there are young people in magic who are asking intelligent questions and thinking about things beyond just the moves, and how to make it meaningful in people's lives, and how to create experiences and so forth. So yeah, no, I'm always positive. I mean, magic's been around for thousands of years, and it's only gotten better, in my opinion. Who knows what it's going to be like? It'll be different, but I'm not going to put a value judgment on what's happening, good or bad, because I can't do that. If I could speak to every magician in the world today, I would probably say share and be kind to those coming up behind you, and remember the kindnesses of the people who came up ahead of you in magic and their generosity, and pass it on. And that's how the magic art survives. It really does. It's not just through books and products and DVDs and downloads. That's not how it survives. It survives by us spending time with the people behind us, and encouraging them and sharing with them and telling them the truth, and instilling your love and your passion for magic. They can see it. Yeah, so spend time with people who are coming up, and be the person that you would like to have had in your life when you were coming up. So that would be my advice. I think I got through all the questions. I can bullshit my way through anything. I can talk about anything. I can talk around any subject without saying anything. So there you go. All right. Bye.
Das war ein Interview mit David Williamson. Das ist für mich ein Meilenstein. Oft in den Kommentaren unter meinen Videos schreiben die Menschen, ja, du solltest mehr Abos haben. Aber wer mich kennt, weiß, dass es mir nicht wirklich um Zahlen geht. Zumindest nicht in erster Linie. In erster Linie geht es mir darum, dass ich tolle Informationen auf diesem Channel liefern kann und mit tollen Menschen reden kann. Und wenn ich mir einfach nur anschaue, was ich erreicht habe, wer mir alle sein Vertrauen geschenkt hat, was für Zauberkünstler hier schon zu Gast waren, das bedeutet so viel, das bedeutet mehr als Zahlen, das bedeutet mehr als Geld, das bedeutet für mich alles. Also für mich könnte es keinen besseren Abschluss für dieses Jahr geben als ein Interview mit David Williamson. Und ich hoffe, es ging euch genauso. Ich danke euch, dass ihr mich auf dieser Reise begleitet und mit mir diesen tollen Zauberkünstlern begegnet und mir zuhört und da seid. Das war euer Simeon. Tschüss.